IKONINI, 16th October 2024, it'll go down as a very iconic day, a very historic day hapa Kenya, because of course in history itakuwa studied as the day that the deputy president alibaki appear in front of a senate, alafu kukakuwa na like an impeachment trial yake ikiendelea. Hiyo ilikuwa like the first day. So of course 17th ndio itakuwa like the most iconic day because it's the day that we'll know whether he was impeached or not. But now, kama kuna kitu lazima tuongee juu yake, ni lazima tuongee juu ya jana na vile like the impeachment trial ilibaki go down. Because it was very funny to see, and it was funny and sad to see because kuna mtu anaitwa Mutuse. Kuna vile alibaki amepelekwa yende alikuwa na represent gava ama alikuwa na represent the parliament, and parliament of course is one arm of the government, and right now as we know with the Kenya Kwanza government has the executive as the main arm of government, alafu iko na two short arms. Unajua two short arms, kamoja ni judiciary, kengine ni legislative, and yes, but the executive has very deep pockets, so you can try and imagine what happens here. But now let's go back to what happened. Like like you don't even need to go far. There's this clip that happened during the exchange between Ongaya na Mutuse.
You referred us to the letter by KEMSA terminating that bid. Do you remember?
Yes.
Can you draw us to that letter, the volume number and the page where it is? And counsel is talking to the witness, and you can see he's actually answering the question. He's a junior colleague. He's engaged in extremely unethical behavior that should not be done in a small claims court. Forget about a country's senate. You've seen it with your own eyes.
Yeah, set to the mood. Like Ongaya alikuwa amekuja na ubaya jo. Na kitu moja ile ilikuwa funny na hii story ni vile, if you'd watched Mutuse on the parliament floor, he looked like this very confident guy. He looked like this guy who knew what he was doing. But yesterday watching him, you felt like this is a guy who had been sent and did not even know what the message was. He was just supposed to be the messenger, na hakuwa anajua what the message was. So ile time aliambiwa sawa tushafungua barua tumesoma, wacha tukuuliza maswali, hakuwa anajua kile anafaa kusema. And this got very interesting because let us to check a few of the exchanges that I found to be super funny. And after all these exchanges, kile utakumbuka this famous clip ya kutoka kwa Waititu. Na Waititu, funnily enough, alikuwa anaongea juu ya Senate, and people remembered Waititu because Mutuse did worse than Waititu could ever have imagined.
Na tulikuwa tumebeba anza zote vizuri sana, lakini vile tulifika pale, ile karatasi ilitolewa kwa file. Ile ilikuwa na senator. Alitoa karatasi ambaye ilikuwa na maswali. Sile ambaye hatujawahi sikia.
Shaskia hiyo jo. Maswali hatujawahi sikia. Because Mutuse looked like like a deer. Ile ikiface headlights. Like alikuwa anakaa hivyo, alikuwa anakaa fala mbaya. Na nitabaki nimebonga juu what I actually think happened and why Mutuse found himself in this very like interesting situation. But to answer that, we'd have to go to like a few of the things that he went through. Usahau Mutuse ni lawyer, na Mutuse like one of the things ile alikuwa anasema ni alibaki amevalue property ya Gachagua. Akasema Gachagua stole property worth around 5.2 billion shillings. Sama he's worth around 5.2 billion, and most of this money is stolen. Of course Gachagua by the time alikuwa anafanya ile ilikuwa ni vetting ya kuwa DP, aliulizagwa how much he was worth. He said 800 million. So 800 million tukitoa from 5.2 billion, we tunabaki na 4.4 billion. 4.4 billion tukitoa 24 million, tunabaki na around how much? Tunabaki na 4.376. Yes, 376 billion. Okay, so now tuacha tusikie exchange yao when they were talking about like the different like how Mutuse got to this net worth.
Let me start by asking this question. It is your claim that The deputy president has amassed a humongous property portfolio estimated at 5.2 billion shillings.
That's ground 4. It is not. So that...
My apologies, ground 7. My apologies for that. I'm sorry for that. Ground 7 at page 17. My apologies for that.
Yes, it is our allegation, and we have justified it in our evidence in chief.
Who gave you this value of 5.2 billion?
We said estimated at 5.2 billion, and we have...
Yes, who gave you that estimate value of 5.2 billion?
We have made the additions.
Sorry?
It's a matter of additions.
So you are saying that when we take you through these values, you'll get a property value of about 5.2 billion?
Approximately 5.2 billion, yes.
You said you made the additions. Additions result into a definite figure, Mr. Mutuse. Although you are a lawyer, mathematics is a pre-qualification for studying law.
There are two things. One, there is the...
Are you saying that when we do those additions, we will get 5.2 billion?
There is the stated value in the sale agreements and in the acquisition documents.
That's what I'm saying. Are you saying when we add those values, we'll get 5.2 billion?
Mecheke. So hii place alianza unachikia anaanza kusita sita na unashindwa msee unajua like mnanijuaga I love mathematics and numbers so unasikiaga the famous saying that numbers don't lie because a number is just a number, hakunaga story mingi. So if you say someone is worth like 5.2 billion, even if it's approximate, you have to stick with your other approximate. So utasema he had 800 million. After 800 million, he stole a property worth 400. That took it to 1.2 billion. After this, he stole another property worth 500. This took it to 1.7. After this, he took another property worth 600. This took it to 2.3. Then after E2.3, he stole another one worth 700. That took it to 3. Then E2.2 came with this one, which was $1 billion deal, a billion shillings deal. So now we are looking at 4.2. Then this other 1 billion came. You know, it's like numbers ni fast. But this guy, as I keep saying, he is not the author of this bill. This is a guy who was just sent as the face of the bill. And skiza hapa mwisho.
I will also be telling you what, in my view, are the values of some of the properties.
Oh, what in your view are the values of some of the properties?
Yes.
You have graduated from a lawyer to a valuer now, isn't it?
That's not exactly what you are saying.
Okay, thank you.
In our view,
using what expertise did you attach that value in your view?
Well, market value. I'm sure you also know land in Kitale, an acre goes for 4 million. Land in Kilifi, an acre goes for 2 million. And if it goes beyond that, it's a reasonable man's test.
Macheki. By hii time, ukiangalia hata sura yake, he's no longer even looking at the other person. He's looking away and he go there asking like, how did I find myself here? And the funny thing about Nini is this was not the worst part. Like when we think about the Wednesday proceedings, the Senate, impeachment, we will always think about Elisha Ongaya versus Mwengi Mutuse. And kitu funny ni kuna time like kale ka default setting ka nini ufikaga, because one of the lawyers that spoke yesterday of course ilikuwa Rengo. So Rengo alitokea pale akajichocha. Wasewa ODM wanakuwaga na this philosophy that as long as it's one of their own, they have to praise him even when he does nothing. So if you'd gone yesterday online, you'd have think that Rengo said this thing that was mind blowing and what, but hakuna kitu yote ya maana ilo Rengo alisema. But sasa nikuwa try kuimagine kama nani angeenda kuuliza like afterwards Mwengi Mutuse angeenda ulize Orengo like how do you say in Luo that Elisha amenichapa, alafu unajua nani angemwambia Elisha Ongaya, alafu unasema Elisha Ongaya. Yes, Elisha Ongaya, because kalinuka. Another thing that of course pia walienda wakibonga juu yake, because hizi vitu zote zilikuwa ni juu ya do, like do ndio ilikuwa like corruption had to be the backbone of this whole thing, because when you look at other things like Buddha could disrespect the police, that's something that also Ruto has done. So we had to look at do. So when it comes to do, another thing that they talked about was the companies, and here it still got super ugly for Buddha, because as I keep saying, he did not know what he was talking about. He'd been sent by his masters, and his masters did not prepare him well. So what ended up happening is he embarrassed himself kabisa. So hapa alikuwa anaulizwa juu ya shida, like hizi companies umesema ni corrupt, but what problem do you have with these companies?
Just to confirm, we are on the same page. This is Heartland Supplies Limited.
Yes.
We have no quarrel with Heartland Supplies.
Page 21, paragraph 17, Mothers of the Land Limited. What problem do you have with it?
We have no quarrel with Mothers of the Land.
Number 18, Pioneer Medical Kenya Limited. What problem do you have with it?
We don't have a problem with it.
Overleaf, page 22, Reed of Furniture Mart Limited. What problem do you have with it?
We do not have a problem with it.
Royal Crimson Ventures Limited. What problem do you have with it?
No, not at all.
Technical Supplies and Services Limited. What problem do you have with it?
We do not have a problem with it.
Wacha ni pause kukuambia basically hii ndio answer yake wakiendelea. So every company alikuwa naulizwa alikuwa nasema we don't have a problem with it. So ukisikiza hii you are like at some point he's going to say that he has a problem with something, because don't forget, apart from this Mwingi Mutuse being an MP, he's also a lawyer. Unajua? He's a lawyer, so he understands the law. So he needs to be able to like answer these questions, because the way he looked as scared as me. Ningeenda pale, me of course nitakuwa scared, mi nitajichocha hapa, because this is my habitat, my natural habitat. I'm in that podcast environment. The minute you take me in front of a senate, nitakuwa utasikia kale ka uoga. So wacha tuendelee na hizi makampuni.
You listed all these companies just to create a screaming headline for your motion with no problem with them.
We listed all these companies to show that they are associated with persons close to the Deputy President, and that they are companies that are either used or can potentially be used for purposes of corruption and money laundering.
Okay. They can potentially be used. The DP intends to use them in future. So this motion is preventive.
Indeed, we are addressing fears.
You have come here to address fears that DP may use these companies in future to commit corruption.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah. We've come to address fears. Kabudani ka lawyer. Kaliamka asubuhi, akaenda akaoga, after kuoga sijui alipaka mafuta kwanza, but akavaa ngodha, akavaa trouser, akavaa shati, akamake sure pia ampigilia tie alafu koti juu. And I expect hii level amefika, alimake sure at least ka perfume kidogo, alafu anakuja kwa the Senate ku address fears. Cheki. Amekuja ku address fears at the Senate. And this is why I'm 100% sure this guy did not know what he was doing, and this guy was sent by the executive, and what the executive expected to happen did not happen.
You have come here to address fears that DP may use these companies in future to commit corruption.
Indeed, yes.
That's why you want this Senate to impeach the DP on this ground.
We have also shown...
No, that's why you want this Senate to impeach the DP on this ground.
There are some that we have shown have been used.
I've taken through a number of companies, Mr. Mutuse. I've taken the number of companies,
yes,
but one by one.
Yes.
You have said you have no problem with them.
We have no problem with the ones that we have said we have no problem with.
Okay. So, that was Mutuse. So, Mutuse, don't forget, this is a lawyer. He's there and he's being asked questions and he can't answer anything. And you keep thinking about it, and you're there thinking that, why can't this guy answer all these questions? Why is he this scared? And what you come to think about is, when you know that when you know that you are doing something that you don't believe in, kuna confidence flani ile hukosa. Because though ukuongeza confidence, but money can only add you as much confidence as possible. Like at some point, there's a maximum of the amount of confidence that money can give you. And with that in mind, that's what you could see with Mutuse. Like kuna level flani ile, he was there just thinking like, what am I doing here? Why did I accept this? And hiyo ndio kitu moja pia nitataka to break down, tukifikiria like nini lileta humse hapa na nini lilifanya akaenda hapa amejiembarrass hivi. Cause ukiangalia tu history yake unaweza jua how he ended up like at this place. And then one of the things ile of course ubuda alikuwa amebonga juu yake, alikuwa na hii ilikuwa ni story fulani mpaka jana, kama ufuatilia msanaitwa Itumbi on Tuesday had hinted that the family of Gachagua, now Nderitu Gachagua, were going to testify against Gachagua, now Rigathi Gachagua. Yes. So when the issue of companies came up, this was very interesting to listen, because Ubuda alianza kuulizwa abongejwe ile vipingo, because vipingo has been very controversial, and this is how it went.
Let me go back to the beginning. You're a lawyer by profession.
Yes, I am.
You know the meaning of ownership of a company.
Yes, I do.
How is ownership of a company manifested?
In shareholding and...
Okay. How many shares does Keith Ikinurigade hold? According to your own exhibit. It may be getting hotter, but look at the document, compose yourself, and read. How many shares does Keith Ikinurigade hold according to your own document?
Sikia jo vile unakosewa heshima. Msana kuuliza, are you a lawyer by profession? Alafu nasema yes. Alafu nakuuliza swali, alafu na pause. Alafu msee mwenyewe anakuambia jo it might be getting hot. Najua. Na sasa hiyo kwa street unajulikana kama mheshimiwa. Na after hiyo unafaa kurudi kwa keja. Kwa unajua ukitoka asubuhi, kuna vitu kwa tunasoma tukiwa watoi kwa siku njema hujulikana asubuhi. And mornings zinakuwa very interesting, and like I don't know, naweza ambia say wacha ni digress kidogo. On Monday morning I woke up feeling sick, and instead of going to the hospital nikaamua let me just brave it whatever. So nikafanya show na Dr. Rain, nikafanya show na RS66 without knowing that without unajua ile kujua asubuhi vile liniambia buda wewe ni msikenda hosi. By usiku nilikuwa naenda hosi je kutolewa damu na nikapatikana niko na blood infection, but siku njema hujulikana asubuhi. Mse akiamka asubuhi niko sure alikuwa na confidence fulani, because unajua the executive ilikuwa shamwashua hiki kitu ni rahisi, just go put a nail in this dude's coffin, alafu story yake imeisha, you'll have a nice day nini. So hata akitoka kaambia Mrs. Mutuse, nikikuja jioni lazima kitendo kitembee tukicelebrate, akamsee kaishie. But what happened is umse he went through hell. So hapa ameulizwa a very simple question. Umesema kampuni ishachukuliwa na nani Gachagua na watoi wake, wacha tubongejea shareholders, na hapa ndio akaanza kumumble.
How many shares does Kevin Gachagua Rigathi hold according to your own exhibit?
They are not indicated.
What is the total number of shares in that company?
10,000.
Who is indicated as owning all those 10,000 shares?
There is a shareholding by the estate of the deceased James Nderitu Gachagua.
It is the estate of the deceased James Nderitu Gachagua. True or not true?
They own 10,000 shares.
What is the total number of shareholding?
10,000.
They own all the shares.
They own 10,000 shares.
What is the total number of shares in that company?
10,000.
So they own all the shares. The estate of the late James Nderitu Gachagua owns all the shares according to your document.
It would appear so.
It would appear so. So he was here just embarrassing himself. And hizi ndio vitu nasema, like when you think about it, unaanza kufikiria uko like hakuna mtu yoyote anaweza jihaibisha hivi unless ye mwenyewe aliambiwa, like umefidiwa information, and when you are fed information by most people, they'll just give you juju, watakuambia hata get to like the nitty-gritties, zile kukuambia like this is what it's supposed to be, like this is where we get this guy. Wewe utakumpatiwa tu juju, alafu ukakuwa unleashed, alafu unaenda pale na confidence ingine, overconfidence. And with overconfidence what happens is you normally find yourself in a situation where you can't explain and you're there wondering. Alafu kitu ilikuwa interesting ni hiyo time yote ukiangalia Gachagua ilikuwa nice mpaka unaona tu anapiga story. Cause alikuwa naona ni kama mafala. Sa wanatrai kunishika. Yenyewe tumekosana juu ya corruption, but at least niachilieni juu ya charges zile zina make sense.
His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua bullied Kenya Medical Supplies Agency officials into awarding a tender for the supply of mosquito nets to Crystal Kenya Limited. Was Crystal Kenya Limited a bidder for this tender?
Crystal Kenya Limited is a local.
I've asked, was it a bidder for this tender?
It is a local representative.
Is it a bidder for this tender? By the way, let me now ask you basic questions. Do you know the meaning of the word bidder?
Honorable Mutuse.
It is not a
Very
bidder.
simple. Yeah, we make progress. You respond, we make progress.
So macheki hapo kuna vile anaulizwa eastward ya bidder, and you can see he's just there struggling to answer. So what could we make from this whole thing? If you had to ask me what happened, and I'd say this guy is a lawyer, and he was sent, and he was told this is something that's very simple to do. But how was he sent? Because I keep saying that this guy was sent, this guy was handpicked. So this is what I think happened. Gachagua alianza kuleta shida, and Ruto most probably called a cabinet meeting, the same sort of cabinet meetings that used to happen back in the days, where Uhuru would call cabinet meetings and Ruto would not be there. So this time Ruto calls a cabinet meeting, Rigathi Gachagua is not there, and they're like, we need to impeach this guy, and we are going to use these accusations of corruption because Kenyans hate corruption. We are going to use tribalism because Kenyans hate tribalism. So how do you think we can do this? And then maybe different people raise their hands. So maybe Duale akatoa reason yake. Duale anajona kaga na reason zingine zile atakutolea reason waambia hiyo reason si ya mamako. Okay, whatever, I don't know how to use your phrase yake. Alafu Duale katoa idea ya kipumbavu ikabaki thrown out. Alafu I think the copy wa Ndai bado alikuwa na salivate akiangalia ile deal ya Adani vile inaenda kuivana. Yuko watu Nyanza wana dance. Alafu Mbadi anamwangalia pale anamwambia treasury iko Luo Nyanza na Suba whatever the hell unajua clown stuff za ODM. Alafu in the process of course nani Mutua akainua ile mkono ilifinyagwa na Ruto ile hiyo mkono Mutua akabaki ameinua hiyo mkono. Alafu after ainue akapatia na idea akasema kuna mse mmoja ule alikuwa my chief of staff in Machakos County for 10 years, and during these 10 years part of it he ended up graduating as a lawyer. You know that guy, we helped him akaingia parliament. Wacha tutumie huo mse to be the guy that brings down Gachagua. This is going to save your people like akina Kimani Ichung'wah, because we don't want it to be said that the mountain has brought down the mountain. So let's use this guy. So they end up using a guy who is a lawyer but has never practiced law. Because if he graduated in the year 2018 na saizi tuko 2024 na alitoka from place ingine in 2022 after the elections, then it means he's never practiced law. So he's not the sort of person that unaweza ita kudefend. Wewe mwenyewe unacheki vile alikuwa. Umse alikuwa kwa stage, ni kwa stand that is. Kwa hii stand alidinywa so hard that even Alicia Kanini was like, stop it! Waja ile place unadinywa mpaka Alicia na kuonea huruma. Do you know how sad that is? So that's what happened. And so this guy is someone who was handpicked by like Alfred Mutua, and this guy was confident. If you could have seen him on the floor of parliament, because of parliament alikuwa na with his fellow clowns. So if you're with your fellow clowns, there's a way kuna confidence fulani ukujaga, because like you're in the middle of mediocrity, you're all mediocre people. Some of you have been paid by the president and now you feel confident, let's get rid of this one guy, and you will have even educated people acting like fools. That's why ukienda on the internet kuna mse kama like Gabriel Oguda, someone we knew who was fighting for a better Kenya. Kumbe all along he was fighting for a ODM to be in government. But asekawa kwa umse, I think alikuwa ameandika sijui mwingi Mutuse, sijui the next whatever since Vidich sijui and what, ilikuwa some clown shit. Then the disaster starts happening. So now the disaster is happening on the floor and there's nothing that you can do about it, because you have someone who you've sent who does not have the information at the tip of his hands. Najua So akiulizwa swali yoyote, that's why unajiki anatry kuconsult. Alafu ile confidence alikuwa nayo Senate, unapata hiyo confidence yote, yani ya parliament, hiyo confidence yote imeisha. Because these things, what happens normally is, I think in boxing asamagat everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth, najua, and then the plan inaenda evil. And this is the same thing that happened. And I've never looked at a man and seen a man try to cry for his mama like I saw. Because this is the funny thing about men and their mothers. And this is something that has been proven over time, that it does not matter how long you live on earth. At some point, you find yourself, even as a grown man, in a situation where only your mother can save you. Now say Joe, yeah, that's what I could see with Mutuse. Mutuse, mama uko happy, mama uko happy. Because kuna zile shida na shida kwa juu hapa nilijiingiza aje. And it was sad to see. Umse anatandikwa hivi on behalf of Alfred Mutua, anatandikwa hivi on behalf of William Ruto on something that meant nothing to him. And in the opportunity ningemwambia alikuwa nafaa kukumbuka kale kafala ka Nigeria. Sijui kama nakumbuka kafala ka Nigeria kalifikisha kwa kotini. Alafu azi ilikuwa mbele ya commission, alafu alikuwa anaulizwa juu ya corruption. And at some point akanotice juu hizi maswali za corruption kuna vile ni too much. Hii raya jo ilienda pia imecollapse jo. Ilibaki imeshindwa jo hizi maswali za corruption ni nini. Akajishika kichwa kidogo, alafu akacollapse. Alafu after a collapse, kitaka kujua vile corruption Kenya huwaga serious, hizi mafala zingine za Nigeria zilibaki zimetokea, zinashikilia hii fala. But unajua mtu amepass out. Mtu amepass out, kuna like ways they are going to react. Hii fala, as soon as iliingizwa kidole kwa mdomo, ikanotice inaenda inaenda kutapika. What did this dude do? Ilibaki imegrab mkono. Oshonaga mtu iko unconscious, ana grab mikono. But this is what could have saved Mutuse. Mutuse should have just collapsed up. He could like, why have you collapsed? Because of the weight of corruption from Rigathi Gachagua. But this was so funny to see. And it's interesting. We are living in a very interesting time because now you can see the ODM clowns and like the way they are so happy because now baba iko serikali. Ukiuliza nini mwasaidia nayo? The Adani deal has gone through. Adani is going to really mess us up. Very soon power bills zitaenda juu kabisa na tukienda kwa streets will be shot by the police. But tusijali. As long as Opio Andai iko na job na Mbadi iko na job na Joho iko na job na Oparanya iko na, we are supposed to be cool with that. We're supposed to be yes, and we'll be there no matter what. Na ndio nafurahia ama clown wakichapwa. So clown anaitwa Mutuse, he was devoured on stage. Vile nakwambia umse alidinywa design nyingine mpaka hata nanijo hata Alfred alisema njoo afadhali Juliani. Afadhali Juliani. Hiyo ni unajua nini inaweza chukua jo Alfred kusema hivyo jo. Do you know what it takes to say that? So kitu linibamba ni baadaye na cheki umse anaitwa Itumbi ni mse moja ule ungemwangalia during the Ruto days. He used to be super arrogant. He's the sort of guy who used to, of course, support police shootings. Of course, now I'm not surprised that police shootings may happen so easy under hii regime, and he's remained quiet. But now kalinukia mwengi Mutuse so bad that ndichekijo Itumbi akisema zile za cross examination. My friend, senior counsel Governor Orengo James will cross examine DP Gachagua tomorrow sometime. Najua confidence na kwa tomorrow at 2 p.m. Najua iko nene. But tomorrow sometime, so ni kesho kaini tu hapo. Do I think that, okay, so on Wednesday, what do I think happened? Rigathi Gachagua won, hands down. It was proven clearly there is no reason to impeach him. Is Rigathi Gachagua still going to be impeached today? Yes, he's going to be impeached today. Why? Because the Senate already know what they're supposed to do. And the Senate has already decided what they're going to do. This is it's a mock exercise. Also, I need a third of the Senate. Kuna so nasema it needs to be a third of the elected senators, not plus the nominated. But they need, if it's plus the nominated senators, they're going to need 45 senators kumuimpeach. Kama si hivyo, they are going to need, is it 28? Yes, they are going to need 28 to impeach him. If it's only elected ones, but I think everyone is involved, so they are going to need, so he needs 22 to save him, and I don't think he's going to get that. So bye to Gachagua. But one thing we can say, akina Mwengi Mutuse, just fuck off. Just go away. Najua, like, you embarrassed yourself. Anyone who hires you as a lawyer, if your political career fails, is someone who's stupid. There's nothing you can do pale. Huwezi kuwa lawyer na unaenda pale alafu unaanza kutetni, unaanza kutetemeka na wewe ni lawyer. Unafaa kuwa na some confidence, some cojones. Uko iko nene, nimetokea hapa mbele yenu, iko nene, una bang paka table, iko nene. Wacheki, mimi ningekuwa paka Gachagua nichukua pesa ya maiti. Pesa ya maiti. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what I'd say. Iza jo, nacheka hivi na ni saa 9 usiku. I hope kuna neighbor ananisikia nikicheka nikaa nimechizi. But it was very funny to see. And just by knowing that this person had been sent by the president. And most probably the president was watching this. And it was so funny to see the memes. Kulikuwa na hii meme moja. Hiyo meme ni cool sana. But ilikuwa meme atia, what's happening at State House right now jo. Iza jo, nacheka hii story jo, nakaka mtu amechizi. So kulikuwa na hiyo meme ya what's happening at State House right now. Actually Rachel Nambati tena kwa magoti jo, anza kuomba oma kile Mutuse anafanyiwa jo. Mutuse alichoma iko nini.